Thero, I think I'm a bit short for this chair. There are a lot of you. Unlike the children's sermon. Okay. So it is a great opportunity that I got to speak to my Dharmist Rajagirian parents here at the Rajagiriya sermon. So I hope you all are doing well. So I was asked to share my life story, which I think you will find interesting and maybe inspiring as well. Okay. So I was born to my mother and father, of course. And in my family there are two members, excluding my mother and father. I have my sister as well. She's currently in Peradeniya University. And so both of my parents are doctors. So one is a consultant, the other one is a dental surgeon. He used to be, but now he's a monk. The one before the last ordination ceremony, he got ordained. As typical Sri Lankan relatives and friends of my parents and all of them, just like a normal person, normal people would ask me, as a child of two doctors, what would you ask? If you meet someone who's a child of two doctors, what would you ask? The typical question that everyone asks, what is that question? Puta, who do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be a doctor, don't you? That is a typical question that every single person who I have met in my life I have asked. And the answer to that, they would ask me, Puta, your mother is a doctor, your father is a doctor, you're also going to be a doctor, right? Then I said, no. But I wanted to be a pilot in my life, but what the destiny has led me is something different. Ultimately, I had to become a doctor, which is a mental doctor. A mental doctor who can help people, who can help anyone. Thanks to my teachers, I have become a mental doctor today. Not a psychologist, although I have studied the psychology a bit, but not a psychologist, but a mental doctor who can help people to get rid of their problems in life. I think that is one of the most important things that I have achieved in my life today. So now I think I've been a monk for 6 years. This is the 6th year. And I've been in the monastery for 6 years. So you haven't heard from me, although you have heard from the other monks, other Venerable Swami Nahanses. So that was my life. So basically, I lived like that, and half of my school life was spent abroad. Half of it was spent abroad, half of it was spent in Sri Lanka. And from the half that was spent abroad, it was spent in 2 different countries as well. So one was Seychelles, if you have heard it, and the other is the UK. So while we were in the UK, we got to know that Guru Hamdru had been there. The Deshikan Mahanse had been there, but we didn't know. But we came to Sri Lanka because of one single person, who I still transfer merits every single day. Who do you think that person is? My beloved sister. She wanted to do O-levels in Sri Lanka. I was trying to convince her every single day that, no, you can do O-levels here, you can do the GCSE in the UK, and we can live in the UK. But now I understand why has destiny led her to want to do O-levels in Sri Lanka. If we didn't come back to Sri Lanka when she made that decision, then we would still be in the UK. And we wouldn't have met, of course. You and I have never met if I was still in the UK. But thanks to my sister, I live a life today with my mind being a lot free than it used to be. Because I ordained at the age of 15, but there was a decision that was made well thought out. Because I thought to myself, am I really going to choose this path? Should I? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? And I asked my parents. Of course, they liked it because they were listening to the Dhamma as well. Then I chose that path because I had heard a phrase that says that you have to jump in the river to learn to swim. First jump and then learn. That was my motivation. So I knew that this path was right, this path was correct, and also there's something else I knew. I'll tell you later what that is. So I got to know that you have to jump in the river to swim. To learn to swim, you have to first jump in the river. Otherwise, you'd be learning the theory, but you'd actually don't know, you wouldn't know what is the real method of swimming. How to actually swim. Practically do that. There would be a problem with that. So therefore, I jumped in the river. So just like Venerable Swaminatha said, just before he left, there are many things that you can't do, which at the start, honestly saying, at the start, it was really hard. Trust me. It was really hard. But today, if you ask me, is your life hard, Swaminatha, as a monk? Is your life hard, Swaminatha? What do you think my answer would be? Not at all. But was your life hard? Yes, it was. But because my life was hard, I gained help from my teachers. From the Venerable Swaminatha, from the Guru Swaminatha, and all the other teachers at the monastery. I gained help from them. And the help that I received helped me relieve out of the problems that I had in my mind. And just like the Venerable Swaminatha said, no offense, how many things do you need at home? Versus how many things do you want at home? But today, the only things that I have is my alms bowl and 2 robes for my name. And I am happy with that. I am simply happy with that. My teachers have helped me a lot to live a simple life like that. I want all of you to achieve that as well. I want all of you to come there as well. It is not hard, but it is hard at the beginning. Just think about jumping into the river without knowing how to swim, but eventually you'll learn how to. Eventually you'll learn how to swim if you jump into the river, but for that, you need to jump. But you can stay on the bank and then think like, there are waves on the river as well. You'll start seeing waves on the river. And then you'll think that it's hard to jump, but only if you jump, you'll understand that you have the potential to swim. So all of you are meritorious people. That's why you get to listen to these sermons. That's why you get to listen to Venerable Swaminatha's sermons. That's why you have come across Guru Handru. That's why you have come across Venerable Amadasana Swaminatha in your life, just like I have. Because you all are very meritorious people. And you do merits all the time. Every single time I see you guys, every single time I see you all, you do merits. You do an immense amount of merits. You lay the powder, you arrange this place. I mean, just think about it. There is a Swaminatha at our monastery. So he's responsible of doing all the decorations that you see at the monastery. So one day I met him, and he told me that it is that decoration that he did with the intention of giving happiness to people or giving pleasantness to the mind while people are listening to the Dhamma. It is that with that intention, when you do decoration, that has helped him to realize a lot of Dhamma today. So with all of you doing such decorations, with all of you doing such arrangements, with all of you arranging flowers like this, I think you can achieve this. I think you can attain Nibbāna. You have the potential. But first, you have to realize it. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize it. There's a nice stanza that is always uttered by the Buddha in the first 20 years. And the first line of that is, Kanti Paraman Tapotitikka. What that means is, you have to put your patience first. Put your patience first and then practice the path to achieve fruits. put your patience in front of you. If you put your patience in front of you, then everything that comes towards you, you put a hold. You put a hold and then think about it. But otherwise, if you try to think about that problem, being inside that problem, then it is hard to get out of it. But if you put a hold and then wait a second and then think about that problem, then you'll be able to apply what you know today to that problem. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to actually continue from where the Venerable Swami Nansi stopped. So this is Bob and John. Let's take a typical scenario where Bob is arguing with John. So Bob is blaming John for something that John had done, right? This happens at home, right? So Bob is blaming John for something that John had done wrong. We tend to see this as Bob blaming John, right? Bob is angry, John gets angry. What do you think John's reaction is now? To blame back. This is what we see. But there is something that happens behind the scenes. There is something that happens behind the scenes which we fail to realize. Bob blames John, John blames Bob, but this is the box. Can you hear me? This is the box that a typical person sees. But there is something that happens behind the scenes, which is, so we have, the Venerable Swami Nansi has talked about the Vipaka strands and all that, right? So Bob has a Vipaka strand, or the karmic strand. And John has a karmic strand as well. When Bob is blaming John, what is happening to John? John is hearing. He's hearing a sound. That is what you call a blame, right? Where is that sound coming from? Is it coming from Bob? As thanks to physics, we know that sound is not coming from Bob. So that sound John creates in his mind. So I'll talk in 2D sense and then go into 3D. So I'll use people right now, right? So John creates that sound in his mind, and that sound is due to his vipaka. That vipaka comes down as a fruit, and it comes into fruition, and John hears a sound, which he hears as a blame. To that, what is John's reaction? To blame back. When John is blaming back, what is happening to Bob? It creates an environment for this vipaka to come into fruition. When Bob is blaming, it creates an environment for this vipaka to come into fruition. When John is blaming, it creates an environment for this vipaka to come into fruition. So, whose vipaka has come into fruition at the end? For Bob, has anything come from John? For John, has anything come from Bob? But Bob got angry and blamed John. John got angry and blamed Bob. That is what we see. But what actually happened behind the scene is that Bob is spending his own vipaka in his life. John is spending his own vipaka in his life. And these two are two discrete events. We fail to realize that because of jati. Because jati is happening in our mind, therefore we create a whole story using all the information that comes in. We create a whole story using the vipaka. But ultimately, we have lived a life alone. We have lived with our own vipaka. We have lived with only our vipaka strand. I haven't seen you. You haven't seen me. I have never seen you. I have only seen my vipaka. You have never seen me. You have only seen your vipaka. Just think about it. If you don't have the vipaka to hear right now, you won't hear any single word that I will be saying. Because this creates an environment for you to hear a sound, your vipaka comes into fruition right now. If you have the vipaka right now to listen to a music, then with every single word that I'm saying of the Dhamma, you would hear music. That is why, just think about it. That is why, whatever I explain, you understand the way you understand it. If you ask every single person at the end of the sermon, I give you a sheet of paper and then tell you to write down the highlights of the sermon. Do you think all of those highlights would be the same? But if it came from me, then every highlight should be the same, shouldn't it? But that is not the case. So, you would understand the sermon in the way you would understand. Because that is also again your vipaka. According to the merits you have done, ladies and gentlemen, your vipaka will be drawn according to an environment. That is how every single thing in this world works. So therefore, an environment is created and therefore vipaka is drawn to that environment. Vipaka comes into fruition according to an environment. That is how every single thing works in this world. That is why the Venerable Swaminatha said, you create your own angels. You create your own devils. You punish yourself. Why? Because it is just the mind with vipaka. A mind being created with vipaka, that's all there. Every single time vipaka comes into fruition. That's why you get to know about this world. And there are 6 ways of that happening. That is through your eyes, ears, smell, which is nose, and tongue, and your skin, and your mind. So these are the 6 ways that vipaka comes into fruition. These are the 6 ways that you get to know about the world. But you don't get to know about the world, do you? You get to know about your world. You get to know about the world that is created within you. You get to know about your personal world. In that personal world, you have me. In that personal world, you have a Swaminatha preaching to you right now. If this is not the environment for that vipaka to be drawn, then you wouldn't have that in your world right now. Let's say that you worked last night till the morning and you came to the sermon. Now do you think that there is an environment for those vipaka to be drawn? No. Therefore, you would doze off. You would fall asleep. Because you were tired and therefore now your body stops supporting you. Therefore, now that there is no environment for the vipaka to be drawn, you would always need an environment for vipaka to be drawn. And that is all that happens in this world. That's why I told you that you have never seen me, I have never seen you. Whatever you're seeing right now, you call it the Swaminatha. Whatever I'm seeing right now, I call it the Rajagiriyans. So that's why sometimes in Guru Ram's sermons, he asks that, can you see the pig over here? Can you see it? You can't because you don't have that vipaka. Does that mean that there isn't pig here? You can't say that, can you? Because just because the pig is not in your world doesn't mean that it is not in the world. That is why there are many things that we might not see today, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. So therefore, if we take this simple scenario that happens in everyday life, this is applied on nature. So you learn pure anicca and applied anicca, just like pure maths and applied maths. So when you learn pure anicca from the sermons, you have to apply it into your practical life, which is your lab of life, and then understand it through applied. That's why you have pure maths and applied maths, right? Because applied maths, you apply it into real world scenarios. But there is a little bit of pure maths you apply into real life. Agreed? So just like that, you have pure anicca as well as applied anicca. So there is a way of practicing the dhamma. You can think about the dhamma to the depths, to the end. You can think about that. Because even the Supreme Buddha had said that either you can take a bucket and go to the ocean and take a shower while staying on the beach. Right? You can take a shower on the shallow beach, right? Shallow sea. Or you can take a huge ship and then go to the depths of the ocean, or a submarine and go to the depths of the ocean and take a shower there as well. But either way, you take a shower and cleanse yourself. So you can think about the Dhamma, but thinking about the Dhamma and applying anicca, which is practicing the path, are two different things, ladies and gentlemen. So this is applied anicca. How this becomes anicca is because you start seeing that this is not a fixed entity and this is not a fixed story that's happening. It is vipaka coming into fruition and creating a mind. And therefore, you get rid of that fixed sense while thinking about this. That creation of the mind, you can call it sankhara, right? Which is a creation, which is a formation of the mind. Vipaka coming into fruition and formation of a mind. That's when the Lord Buddha says, Sabbe sankhara anicchati. Yada panyaya passati. Ata nibbindite dukke. Esamaggo visuddhiya. Sabbe sankhara anicchati. Vipaka coming into fruition and creating a mind that itself explains anicca. Vipaka coming into fruition and manifesting a mind that itself explains anicca. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take this applied part and apply it to your day-to-day life. Because this is not something weird, right? This happens every day, doesn't it? So I want you all to take this and apply this into your life and apply anicca, which will help you to realize the truth. Little by little. Every single step you take counts. Every single step you take towards your destination counts. That's why when they say success is a journey, but not a destination, right? But here, it is different. Here there is a destination. Isn't that so? Although success is a journey, not a destination, here there is a destination. There is a goal. There is a place that you can reach to, and which is called Nibbāna. So here, success is a destination which you can reach to and which you can keep going towards every single time. Every single mind you can reach, you can keep reaching success. And which is the destination in this case. So I want you all to apply this into your practical lives and then check whether this is right or wrong. This is very simply explained, anicca. So I wouldn't go to the depths of it because the Venerable Swaminatha will go to that. But I'd like to leave you with this. I think this would be a very valuable lesson. This is something that I have learned in my life as well. Because if you ask me to what I practice, I would tell you a very small thing. But if you ask anyone, any of our Swaminathas at the monastery, to what they understand, they would start preaching you for hours. But what they practice is something very small. Even a tactic that the Venerable Swaminatha uses is that the best thing is to have spiritual postures. Do you know what they are? Spiritual postures are cues that reminds you to go into the path, to go into the track back again, just like your spirit thread. You can have that as a spiritual posture. Every time you see your spirit thread, it can remind you, you can make it a cue to put you back onto the track, to put you back onto the path, which reminds you to practice the path. When you see the spirit thread, oh, I have to practice the path. Every time you see your watch, you can make it a cue to practice the path. So every single time you see the watch, you go like, oh, I have to practice the path. But not just that, you can go further and put different karmasthana into them. The things that you take out of sermons, so for example, just like sabbe sankara anicchati. Maybe you put that into a person that you see in your day-to-day life. Maybe you put that into your puta or dua, or your husband, or your wife. And when you look at them, every single time you meet them in front of you, it will remind you, sabbe sankara anicchati. That is enough for you to go on the track after that. It's just that you need a cue somehow to go or fall into the track back again when you go out of the track. So I think that will help you to practice the path as well. And I would like to leave you there. But before I conclude, I'll tell you a story. One day, there was a Maharatan Mahanse, Maharatharaniya, called Sila Maharatharaniya. And this Maharatharaniya, which is a nun, she goes on alms round in the villages, and then she comes back to her forest where she lives alone. Right? Just think about it. She lives alone in a forest. Ladies in the house, can you? So this Maharatharaniya lives in the forest alone. While she was living in the forest alone, she comes back from Pindapata, the alms round, and then the Mara comes up to her thinking that I should scare her. Now, as you know, can a Maharatan Mahansi be scared? Of course not. But the Mara approaches her thinking that I can scare her. I'll scare her and I'll freak her out. And thinking that, the Mara comes up to her and then tells her a stanza. And that stanza is Kenayam pakato satto kuan sattassa karako kuan satto samuppanno kuan satto nirujjati. The Mara asks, what is the reason? Or who do you call this sattva or this being? What is the reason for this being? How does this being arise and how does this being pass away? The Mara asks this from this Venerable Maharatharaniya. And then, to this, the Venerable Maharatharaniya replies, Kinnu sattosi pacchesi Mara ditting gatanyute Suddha sankara punjoyang naida sattupalabdati. It's just like a slap on Mara's face. Why? Because she says that Kinnu sattosi pacchesi. How can you talk about a sattva? Itself is a Mara ditti, which is a Mara view, a view of the Mara. It is your own false view. She says that to the Mara. She tells the Mara that it is your own false view. It is a Mara ditti. It is a wrong view. It is a wrong view that makes you think that there are sattvas that exist in this world. So it is your own fault that you feel like that. Suddha sankara punjoyang naida sattupalabdati. There's only a collection of sankara, which is formations, which is building up. That is all that's there. Suddha sankara punjoyam naida sattupalabdati. Therefore, you can't talk about a sattva. You can't talk about a being. You can't talk about a fixed entity. You can't talk about a living being. Because there's only Suddha sankara. Because there's only sankara. There's only formations. That is all there. Now, I have a small question to ask. Isn't that what all of your destiny should be? Ladies in the house, my mothers at Rajagiriya? Isn't that where you want to go to? Isn't that the mindset that you want to achieve? And also my fathers in Rajagiriya. Isn't that what your destiny should be? So I invite you all to understand the Dhamma more and practice the path and fulfill your destiny. Achieve what you ought to achieve. So thank you very much for listening. And we'll transfer the merits and conclude the sermon for today. Let us take a moment to transfer the merits we have acquired throughout the day by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, making the decorations and engaging in various meritorious deeds throughout the day. First and foremost, let us remind ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teachings, and with immense gratitude let us transfer these merits to the bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Lord Buddha and have passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage, as in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all the chapters who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and have committed themselves to the betterment of all sentient beings. Let's not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in our local temples and nunneries who have always been by our side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our teacher, Guru Swami Nohanse, and all the other monks resident at the monastery, as well as the Anagarika and Anagarika communities attached to the monastery. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the people who take great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Lord Buddha, be that by sharing their sermons with others or inviting others to join them. May by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May by the power of these merits, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the devotees, friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, and to those of you who have provided the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, and medicines, and to those of you who have provided their know-how and extended their well-wishes. May by the power of these merits, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers, fathers, brothers and sisters, our uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews and nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, and to anyone and everyone who has helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form. May by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the devas, brahmanas, priests and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Samvata Sasana. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May by the power of these merits, may they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all our ancestors who have preceded us, to all who have been our friends, families and acquaintances in this infinitely long journey of samsara. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to them. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all who lost their lives in war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we have acquired throughout the day. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to all the people who lost their lives in natural calamities such as tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides and pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this infinitely long journey of samsara. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to them. May by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, may they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May by the power of these merits, may they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let us all make a resolve that may by the power and blessings of all the merits you have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arhants on this blessed land, and may by the power and blessings of all the merits you have acquired throughout the day and throughout our whole samsara, may you and I and everyone who has helped make these programs a success become an Aritun Mahanse or an Arhat Menin Mahanse in this very life and in the era of the Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Now the Mahasangha will transmit that blessings to you. Rajagiriya midetva dveshagiriya midetva mohagiriya midetva Nibbāna parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satmayo Nibbāna parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva Nibbāna parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva Rajagiriya niveva dveshagiriya niveva mohagiriya niveva nivan sapa labeva nivan sapa labeva nivan sapa labeva තුන්වන්ගේ සුවිසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බෙලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා. සාදු සාදු සාදු.